Hello everyone and welcome to the next part of the Bottoms Get Beat Up Nekoma edition. Today's ship is KuroKen, and although this is part 4, you don't have to watch the Shiba Inu or Yakulev part before this to understand, only the prologue. This will be the final part for Nekoma, though I'm considering doing a supercut with bonus material as always. Tell me in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in. Now, a quick thing before we start. We are at almost 15,000 subscribers, which first of all, thank you so much. This is insane. But second of all, the 2-year anniversary of this channel is also coming up very soon in October. There is the 1st of October when I officially did start this YouTube channel, and then there's the 31st of October, where I upload my first polyship video, and in the eyes of what this channel is today, I also like that as an anniversary. Also because it's like Halloween and it's pretty, like, very cool. And I still love my first book of KuroKen series. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. What I wanted to say is that it would be crazy and awesome if we could fill like the 15,000s before that, or like shortly after, because then I can say, hey, by the way, we made it to 15,000 in 2 years, which is insane. Anyway, so if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. It would mean the world to me. And I know that over 50% of you, I can talk, aren't yet. So first of all, ouch. No, I'm kidding. But like, yeah, that would be pretty cool, guys. And I will think of something special to do for that then. Now I hope you enjoy the video. Kenma stood in front of the front door. His fingers clenched around his key and his hand hovered just above the lock, but he didn't open it just yet. There was a rushing in his ears that increased with the wind picking up speed, and soon small droplets of rain started falling from the sky and were blown onto his hair and clothes as well. Oddly, the cold was soothing. It offered a nice contrast to the heat pulling around the bruises he acquired, and something else to focus on beside the nausea. He didn't dare move as the bitter taste assembled in his mouth, followed by a stinging sensation. It trapped him in place as the world spun, and he had to focus all his efforts not to vomit. Tears pricked in his eyes and his breathing grew shallow. He fought on the sick feeling with deep breaths, in hope it would just vanish, and gritted his teeth. He hated being sick. He hated vomiting. The sensory issues that followed such an event bordered on unbearable to him. His concentration was broken when through the rustling filling the air an insistent meowing cut the silence. It echoed from behind the door, and Kenma would have to be deaf not to recognize the cries of his cat. The small calico cat by the name Himari, meaning sunflower, for one, because she had bright yellow eyes, and two, because she reminded him of Hinata, adorable, overly ambitious, and she can jump really high, had a high-pitched meow, usually directed at Kuro to plea for food. Whenever she meowed, she wanted something. And right now, she sat in front of the door, calling out, probably for Kenma to come inside now for cuddles. The corners of his lips twitched in an attempt to smile, but he immediately regretted it as the nausea returned full force. He groaned and his hands started shaking. Himari, what are you doing there? Seeing ghosts again, kitten? Upon hearing Kuro's voice through the door, warmth spread in his veins, and the prickly feeling of tears assembling in his eyes became more prominent. With a deep breath, he forced down the nausea and moved. The lock clicked, and relief flooded his system as the door finally swung open. Inside, he was greeted by Kuro kneeling down, Himari on his lap, and further ahead, he saw their black Bombay cat, Hibiki, lingering at the entry to the hallway. She got her name from constantly following Kenma wherever he went moments after, and meowing when Kenma would get frustrated after losing his games. His fans loved the small black kitten mirroring its owner and named her Echo. You're home early. Kuro smiled up at him while Himari swiftly jumped from his arms and circled around Kenma's legs, scenting him as a welcome home. Kenma breathed in deeply. He felt a wave of calm wash over him at the scene in front of him. This was good. Familiar. He was finally home, and instantly the feeling of safety had overridden the nervousness buzzing through his system whenever he left the house. Kuro still smiled softly at him, still oblivious to the shock that still vibrated in Kenma's bones from the attack. He had opened his hair, which had previously been put up in a ponytail. The long strands fell like a curtain to both sides of his face and covered any blemishes he had been marked with throughout the events. It wasn't like he wanted to hide this from Kuro, but he'd rather tell him on his own terms. After he had managed to get inside and cuddle up with his cats, including the overgrown one he called his boyfriend. Though, despite having played for Nekoma, sometimes Kuro's tendency to follow Kenma around the flat and seek out physical touch reminded him more of a dog. Then again, compared to Bokuto or Liev, who both definitely were human reincarnations of the animal, he was fairly normal. They always betray me when you get here. Kuro pouted as he observed the cat lovingly snuggle up to Kenma's leg and faint hurt. In truth, he had a whole thorough collection of pictures featuring Kenma in at least one of the little furballs, and the gamer knew that. Not true. Himari loves you. He had knelt down to open his shoes, but got stopped by the small Kaliko, who placed her head in his hand as soon as it was in reach, which made the task increasingly challenging. Only if she wants snacks. He huffed, but Kenma could hear the click of his phone, and as expected, when he looked up, Kuro was still snapping some pictures to immortalize the moment. And Kenma smiled. He'd usually feign annoyance, but this was so familiar that it provided just the comfort he craved at the moment. Slowly, Kuro lowered his phone. His own lips were adored by a smile, soft and warm like the sunset in early fall. He looked gorgeous. You okay, kitten? Kenma nodded slowly and got up to put his shoes aside. Big mistake. The nausea had momentarily faded when he knelt down. He had completely forgotten about it, bathing in the comfort of home, that now he had barely time to think or regain control. He went stiff at once. His eyes widened. For a second, he could still see a frown setting in Kuro's brows, and him moving to say something before he was already pushing past him. His shoes fell long forgotten onto the floor in front of their front door. Kenma? However, he didn't make it far. Not as far as he needed to. His legs felt shaky, and his knees as though the attached muscles were made of jelly. He fell, his knees and hands colliding with the floor, but the short burst of pain did little to distract him from the sudden wave of acidic fluid rising up in his throat. He gagged. It felt awful, and for a moment panic rose within him as he struggled to breathe. What grounded him was a pair of hands suddenly rubbing over his back and wandering up to hold his hair back. It's alright, just let it out. You're gonna feel better. Kuro soothingly massaged over his tense muscles and whispered soft reassurances until Kenma's breathing calmed. The YouTuber could feel every ounce of strength he still held onto drain from his body as he collapsed against Kuro, who mindfully pulled them back from the small puddle he left on the floor. I'm sorry. His voice was rough and speaking hurt. Kuro held onto him tighter and gently corrected their position. When Kenma heard the pleading meow this time, his eyes wandered over to the living room door, realizing that Kuro had locked the cats inside so that they wouldn't get in the way. It's okay, Kenma. Do you feel better now? He nodded slowly. The nausea wasn't as bad anymore, but aside from that, he just felt plain awful. Everything hurt. The pulsing warmth around the bruises was sickening, and he felt uncomfortable all over. His skin was overly sensitive, his throat and mouth burned from the lingering acid, and he just wanted to cry out his frustration. Had a little bit too much? He shook his head. He wasn't capable of much more, but Kenma felt the same gentle hands gathering his hair back again on one side and knew that he had found it. The bruise just above his temple must have grown even more noticeable throughout the ride home because Kuro immediately tensed. He didn't touch, just inspected it more closely and mapping out its edges with his fingertips, merely ghosting over the area. Kenma, what happened? Who did this to you? His voice was an odd mixture of concern, desperation, and slowly growing anger as he was just realizing what this meant. His expression hardened, and for a moment he seemed frozen in place, but in his eyes burned murderous intent. Tetsu. In comparison, his own voice was a weak excuse, battered and bruised just like him right now, but it worked nonetheless. Kuro snapped out of it, his eyes full of worry as they met his again. Right, you can tell me later. His eyes hectically searched over the scene, then Kenma. They stopped at the mess on the floor, his dirty clothes and the bruise again, and it seemed as though he was formulating a plan. I'll prepare a bath for you. I'll take care of this, okay? You just rest. You can tell me everything later, and if I need to beat someone up for this, I'll gladly do so. That coaxed a tiny smile out of the smaller before the frown returned to his face. Wait, you don't have to, I can. He tried to sit up, even though that was probably a stupid idea, and before he could test that to be true, Kuro had already stopped him again. Not a chance. That part isn't debatable. He swiftly whisked him up into his arms, and before Kenma knew it, he was being placed on the edge of the bathtub, where Kuro pulled his favorite items from the cabinet. Kenma was very particular about scents. They could easily irritate him, and he generally hated anything too strong, or too sweet, or too bitter, in general, too much of anything. He preferred natural, soft scents that weren't as overwhelming as most chemical ones. For bathing, there were only a few he could tolerate. One, Kuro was currently pouring into the slowly filling bathtub, tinting the water dark blue like the deep layers of the sea. The room filled with the soft scent of patchouli, and Kenma already felt the effect it had on him as the tension drained from his body further. He slowly started undressing, but faltered midway as he felt Kuro's gaze on him. There was pain in the soft brown eyes Kenma loved so much, and he first didn't understand why. The taller slowly closed the distance between them and hesitantly reached out a hand. His fingertips, which had previously mapped out the injury on his scalp so carefully, now traced patterns on his neck, forearm, and stomach, leaving him confused until Kenma caught his own reflection in the mirror. His temple wasn't the only thing that was bruised. Even so shortly after the events, small purple spots started to appear where he had been choked, grabbed, and hit. He lowered his arms, his shirt halfway hanging from his right wrist. Here, give me that. Kuro gently took the dirty pieces of clothing from him and helped him remove the rest. I'll take care of this. You rest. Wash off the stress. You can relax now. You're safe. Kenma's breath caught in his throat and he nodded. I know. He let himself sink into the water, warm, not hot. It still felt like it was burning him at first, and an involuntary shiver ran down his spine. For just a moment, he allowed the water to engulf him from all sides and sank under the surface. He enjoyed the eerie calm it brought, the utter silence aside from his own heartbeat steadily echoing louder. It was peaceful. He didn't know how much time had passed when Kuro returned. The raven had changed into pajamas and held a stack of fresh clothing for him as well. They didn't say anything as Kuro sat down beside the tub and took the hand Kenma offered, simply showing he was there for him if Kenma needed him. And he did. Right now, he needed Kuro's strength. Kenma had fought well today already, now he just wanted to feel safe in the strong arms of his partner. He needed his care, his gentle words and calming touch. He needed Kuro to be just himself as he always was, a little too worried about him, a bit of a dork and his favorite lovable idiot, who happened to be a bit too much into chemistry based on his awful chemistry pickup lines. He needed the stability he provided. Kuro? Come here. He already waited with a towel and just hugged him in it as he stepped out of the tub. Are you feeling okay? Kenma made an unintelligent noise that sounded between annoyed and tired. Kuro chuckled softly and pulled him closer. Stupid question, I get it. But other than this, was the evening okay? He nodded against Kuro's chest as the taller rocked them slightly. I'm glad. We should organize a team reunion sometime when we get the chance. Shibayama has a boyfriend now. It came out muffled by Kuro's shirt and even less illegible since Kenma's voice was still rough, but Kuro understood regardless. Really? Damn, is no one of us straight? That had Kenma laughing, and he pulled away slowly. Kuro let go of him reluctantly to let him put on clothes. Before long, they were snuggled up in bed together, after having to gently place their cat somewhere else since they decided the middle of the bed was the perfect place for a nap. Now they lay curled up next to them. Himari had curled up at their feet, and Hibiki next to Kenma's head, who in turn used Kuro's chest as a pillow, and let him hold him securely against himself. Do you want to talk about it? Not really. You? A little. I mean, I know that you're safe now, but I'm still worried. I want to know what happened, so that I can prevent it next time. There won't be a next time. Oh, definitely not. I'll send Haikyuu to dropkick anyone who tries. Kenma laughed again and snuggled closer. He is way ahead of you in that. Kenma could feel Kuro relax a little more. So you weren't alone when it happened? He shook his head and could have released a breath he didn't know he was holding. But Kenma still could sense some tension, and who could blame him? A guy started flirting with Shibayama. He told him off, and it escalated. I think the idiot was mostly mad at me at first. Why is that? I might have implied that he was making a fool out of himself. He was. Kuro chuckled, but it wasn't quite back to his typical laugh. And then he just attacked? Well, yeah, but Yaku stepped between us. However, he wasn't alone. Had some drunken friends, and one led to the other, and, well, here we are. Kuro nodded slowly, gently caressing over his arm. Are you still scared? He took a moment to think about that. No, I don't think I was really scared at the moment either. Mostly shocked, and then annoyed because it caused me to have a headache. And then the nausea. Sorry again about that. Still not your fault. Don't apologize for that. Kenma huffed quietly. He buried his nose against the fabric of Kuro's shirt and breathed in the comforting scent deeply. Kuro smelled like home. Thank you for taking care of me. Kenma, I will always take care of you. I love you. I love you too. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope you liked it. This was the final part of this section of the series, but tell me if you want a supercut of it with bonus material. Don't forget to subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me if we could reach the 15,000 subscribers. I would anyways, I'm so thankful for anyone who's here right now, of course. Yeah, tell me in the comments if you want a supercut and your favorite quote as always. I would love that. I love reading so much, like which part of the video like best. It's special thanks to my new Nekos. You are amazing. Sorry again for this being like a day late here on my other social media, or even better, check out some other videos. You know, like in the end cut, it's the algorithm loves that. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.